Nazism. Nazism, spearheaded by Adolf Hitler in Germany, is perhaps the most infamous form of fascism. It was a far-right totalitarian ideology that rejected democracy and promoted an extreme form of racism. Central to Nazi ideology was the belief in the racial superiority of Germans, particularly those deemed to be of Aryan descent. This ideology was not just theoretical, but was put into brutal practice through policies of genocide, most notoriously the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were murdered alongside millions of others, including Slavs, Romani people, and those deemed undesirable. Nazism's core was extreme nationalism, aiming to unite all ethnic Germans and expand their territory, often at the expense of other nations. The end of World War II saw the collapse of Nazism, with its ideology officially banned in Germany and many other places. However, the chilling persistence of neo-Nazi groups today shows that the poisonous legacy of Nazism is far from over. Italian fascism. Italian fascism, often referred to as classical fascism, was the prototype for later fascist movements, including Nazism. Developed by Giovanni Gentile and Benito Mussolini, it combined extreme ultranationalism, militarism, and the desire to recreate a Roman Empire-esque state, reviving the grandeur of ancient Italy. From 1925 to 1927, Mussolini dismantled democratic institutions, establishing a police state where opposition was ruthlessly crushed. Italian fascism was characterized by a strong rejection of liberalism, which it saw as fostering selfish individualism, and socialism, which it viewed as conflicting with national unity. Initially, Italian fascism was not overtly racist or anti-Semitic, but as Mussolini aligned closer with Nazi Germany in the late 1930s, it adopted discriminatory racial policies, including anti-Semitism. Bolshevism. Bolshevism is a unique and paradoxical political movement that blends elements of extreme nationalism with Bolshevik communism. This ideology first took root in Germany, where certain factions within the Communist Party sought to unite nationalist and communist forces in opposition to the Treaty of Versailles. National Bolshevism rejected both democratic and capitalist systems, advocating instead for a totalitarian state that could challenge Western powers. Despite its initial opposition to Hitler and Nazism, National Bolshevism shared many characteristics with fascism, including a focus on anti-democratic, anti-capitalist, and anti-Western ideals. This movement, although never fully mainstream, found resonance in various countries, including Russia, India, Belgium, Israel, and Ukraine. The ideological tension between nationalism and communism made National Bolshevism a complex and often contradictory movement, but one that nonetheless contributed to the broader landscape of far-right ideologies in the 20th century. Franquism. Francoism, named after Spanish dictator Francisco Franco, represents another distinct form of fascism that emerged in the aftermath of the Spanish Civil War in 1936. Franco concentrated all power in himself, ruling Spain with an iron fist under a regime characterized by authoritarianism, anti-communism, and national Catholicism. Unlike other forms of fascism, Francoism placed a strong emphasis on traditionalism and conservatism, particularly regarding Spain's cultural and religious identity. The Francoist regime sought to suppress regional identities and cultural diversity within Spain, promoting a unified national culture centered on Castilian traditions. Under Franco, censorship was rampant, and any form of political or cultural dissent was brutally repressed. Although Franco sympathized with Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy during World War II, his regime managed to outlive both, surviving until his death in 1975, after which Spain transitioned to democracy. Kahanism. Kahanism, founded by Rabbi Meir Kahane, is a radical and exclusionary ideology that advocates for the establishment of a Jewish theocratic state where non-Jews are denied voting rights. Kahane viewed Arabs in Israel as enemies and supported violent expansionism and extreme racism. The Catch Party, which he founded, was banned in Israel and later designated a foreign terrorist organization by the United States. Kahanism is often described as a form of Jewish fascism due to its ultranationalist and exclusionary beliefs. Although the movement never gained mainstream acceptance, its ideology has had a lasting influence on certain fringe groups within Israel, highlighting the dangers of religious extremism and ethnic nationalism. Hindutva. Hindutva is a form of Hindu nationalism that has gained significant political influence in India, particularly through the Bharatiya Janata Party (BJP). Rooted in the belief that India should be a Hindu nation, Hindutva advocates for the cultural and political dominance of Hinduism in Indian society. This ideology opposes the secular and pluralistic traditions of India, promoting instead a vision of India as a Hindu Rashtra or Hindu state. Hindutva is characterized by its anti-Muslim and anti-Christian sentiments, viewing these religious minorities as threats to the purity and unity of the Hindu nation. While not always overtly fascist, the rhetoric and actions of some Hindutva groups share similarities with fascist ideologies, particularly in their emphasis on exclusionary nationalism, militarism, and the suppression of dissent. Hindutva's rise in India underscores the potential for religious nationalism to fuel divisive and authoritarian politics. Hutu power. Two-power was an extreme form of nationalism and ethnic fascism that emerged in Rwanda, leading to the 1994 genocide where approximately 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus were murdered. Rooted in the belief that the Hutu majority should dominate the country, Hutu power ideologues dehumanized Tutsis, portraying them as enemies of the nation who needed to be eliminated. The genocide was the culmination of decades of ethnic tension and propaganda that promoted Hutu supremacy. Two powers' influence extended beyond Rwanda, contributing to regional instability and violence. The Rwandan genocide remains one of the most horrific examples of how fascist ideologies can incite mass violence and atrocities. Croatian nationalism. The Ustase was a Croatian fascist and ultranationalist organization that came to power during World War II in the independent state of Croatia, a puppet state of Nazi Germany and fascist Italy. The Ustase regime was responsible for the genocide of hundreds of thousands of Serbs, Jews, Roma, and others in its quest to create a racially pure Croatian state. The ideology of the Ustase combined extreme nationalism, Catholicism, and anti-Serb sentiment, promoting the idea of a greater Croatia free of ethnic and religious minorities. The regime's brutality and mass killings during the war left a deep scar on the Balkans, contributing to the region's enduring ethnic tensions. Nazi Maoism. Maoism, or Mao Zedong thought, is a form of Marxism-Leninism developed by Mao Zedong, the leader of the Chinese Communist Party and the founding father of the People's Republic of China. It emphasizes the role of the peasantry, guerrilla warfare, and the idea that political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. Peasant revolution, unlike classical Marxism, which focuses on the urban working class. Maoism prioritizes the peasantry as the key revolutionary force in largely agrarian societies. Maoism has influenced various revolutionary movements worldwide, particularly in the developing world, including the Naxalite movement in India and Shining Path in Peru. These groups adopted Maoist strategies to fight for their causes, often in opposition to their governments. In summary, Maoism is a distinct interpretation of Marxism-Leninism that adapts the principles of class struggle and revolution to the conditions of primarily rural and underdeveloped countries. Banderism. Banderism refers to the nationalist ideology and movement associated with Stepan Bandera, a Ukrainian nationalist leader during the mid-20th century. It is particularly linked to the organization of Ukrainian nationalists OUN and its military wing, the Ukrainian insurgent army UPA, which fought for Ukrainian independence. Ukrainian nationalism Banderism is rooted in a strong desire for Ukrainian independence from foreign powers, particularly Poland, the Soviet Union, and Nazi Germany. The movement emphasized a pure Ukrainian ethnic identity, which led to controversial policies and actions against other ethnic groups, including Poles, Jews, and Russians, especially during World War II. Banderists were fiercely anti-communist, viewing the Soviet Union as one of the main oppressors of Ukraine. They also opposed Nazi Germany when it became clear that it would not support an independent Ukraine. Controversy and legacy Banderism is highly controversial due to its association with wartime atrocities and ethnic cleansure. However, in modern Ukraine, Stepan Bandera is regarded by some as a hero of national liberation, while others view him as a divisive and controversial figure. In contemporary Ukraine, Banderism has been a point of contention, especially in the context of the ongoing conflict with Russia. National anarchism. National anarchism is a political ideology that combines elements of anarchism with ethno-nationalism. Unlike traditional anarchism, which advocates for the abolition of the state and opposes all forms of hierarchy, national anarchism incorporates nationalist ideas, often focusing on the preservation of distinct ethnic or cultural identities. National anarchists envision a society composed of autonomous, self-governing communities or tribes based on shared ethnic or cultural identities. These communities would operate independently, without a central state. The ideology is controversial because it blends anarchism, typically associated with leftist, anti-racist movements, with nationalism, which can lead to exclusionary or xenophobic tendencies. Critics argue that it misuses anarchist principles to justify racist or separatist agendas. Chiangism. Chiangism refers to the political ideology and leadership style associated with Chiang Kai-shek, the Chinese military and political leader who led the Republic of China ROC from the 1920s until his death in 1975. Chiang Kai-shek's rule was marked by a strong, centralized authoritarian government. He emphasized Chinese nationalism and sought to unify China under a single national identity, opposing both communism and regional warlords. A central element of Chiangism was staunch opposition to communism. Chiang and his party, the Kuomintang Kimt, fought against the Chinese Communist Party CCP during the Chinese Civil War. After the CCP's victory in 1949, Chiang continued his anti-communist stance from Taiwan, where he established the ROC government in exile.